Vinyl House is honoured to be here with Linda Stagg, daughter of Alan Stagg, the iconic sound engineer, audio consultant and former director of IBC and general manager of Abbey Road Studios. Could you tell us how Alan got started in the industry and more about the man himself?
Right, well, I believe that he started off in the recording business. He was an electrician, and then his first job in recording was at IBC, and at IBC he did a lot of recording work and also became more involved in the management, and then from IBC I believe he went to Abbey Road Studios as general manager. A lot of his time at IBC was when I was quite young, and I do remember we used to go up to London and we'd drop in at the studios, and there was always lots going on there, and it was fascinating to me, but I didn't have a lot of understanding at that age what it was all about, but just that Dad's life was recording and music, and not only well, and that he brought it home with him, and music was always going on. Weekends he would be listening to music. We would be woken up with it on a Saturday morning, and at high volume, and so it would go on all weekend. And he loved music, and he wanted to infuse that love of music to us as children, and that was a large part of my memory of growing up. Was there was always music. Here's a picture of Dad in the control room for a very famous recording, and Beethoven Triple Concerto, which was recorded in Berlin in 1969, and you can see here's Karajan and Oistrakh, Rostropovich and Richter, and they after the sessions, I believe they would go into the control room and they would listen to the takes that had been done and plan what was going to happen next, and it's all sort of the post-session before the recording actually came out. So this is the sort of thing that Dad would do on the sessions, and he was a firm believer that the engineer should be a part of the post-recording and the actual production of the final article, and he felt very strongly about that, and I believe there was some few tussles of character with a lot of these very renowned and well-renowned artists who are world famous. And
you mentioned that you went to watch the Verdi Requiem sessions at Watford Town Hall with Barbaroli conducting and your father recording. Could you tell us more about that? Yes,
it was an amazing experience. John Barbaroli, I remember him. He was quite short, and he had these big glasses. One lens of one of them was cracked, and then he had these sunglasses, the little clip-on sunglasses, which stuck out, and he never took those off. Or every time that I saw him, he was wearing those. Apparently, I remember Dad saying that you could always tell a recording that John Barbaroli was doing, because he would quite often tap his baton on his music stand as when he was just conducting. There would be a tap tap, and that was almost a signature that Barbaroli was conducting. So one of the an amusing thing I remember about that session was in the Dies Irae in the Verdi Requiem. There's a trumpet, offstage trumpets, and what happens at the beginning of the movement, you hear the trumpets and they gradually get louder, and then the choir and the full orchestra come in, and they spent ages trying to get this right, and in the end what they did was they started off in the toilets around the side and then gradually got closer and closer, and that's how they got that effect, and they took ages doing that, and it was absolutely fascinating watching it, that's one of my favourite memories I did see Dad do other things, but that was the thing that really sticks in my mind, because I went to a lot of the sessions for that, and it was great.
These are the master tapes from the Win Morris Marla recordings produced by Isabella Wallach. I understand Alan recorded quite a bit of Marla with Win Morris conducting.
Yes, that's right. And over the years, he was also very involved with Isabella Wallach, and their careers touched many times, and particularly with Win Morris. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to some of the concerts with Symphonica playing Marla with Win Morris conducting, I think Dad recorded a whole cycle of Win Morris conducting Marla with Symphonica, and I think they were quite well received. It certainly was interesting to see all these people who were sort of an important part of music, but not also in a way a part of our lives. So.
And what was your relationship with Isabella Wallach?
Well, Isabella, I remember knowing her from when we were quite small, and she used to come round and they used to talk about recording and whatever projects they had, and Isabella was a catalyst for a lot of the things which Dad became involved in post EMI, and even after he'd finished with Deutsche Grammophon, and they did a cycle of Win Morris and the Marla symphonies, where they were I can't remember the hall that they were, but there would be a dinner, a champagne dinner, and then a concert, and I believe even some of those concerts were recorded live. And then Isabella was the producer of I think nearly all of the recordings that Dad worked on with Win Morris and the Marla recordings. Okay, well here's some pictures with Dad and Isabella, and they look like they're quite old, so I'd love to see what that hall is, but it's just out of the picture. And it's obviously quite old-fashioned recording equipment there. There's another one of Dad and Isabella. So everybody smoked in those days. Not anymore. Yeah, so there's that. And then, so Isabella, I mentioned that she was a very good friend of the family, and also I mentioned that music was a great part of our childhood, and here's the lounge in our house in Mill Hill, and you can see the beginning of Dad's record collection there. By the time they moved to Herefordshire, I think it was across all this wall and round this one to about halfway behind the sofa there, which is now, we're very pleased to say, archived by Vinyl House. And here is what we used to call the coffin, and in there were 2 record decks and a reel-to-reel tape player, and from that came every weekend loud music. Speakers were at the other end, massive great speakers, and so our lives all weekend when Dad was home were filled with music that he was listening to listen to for work and for pleasure. And he loved music. Music was his life, and he was very, very keen to transmit his enthusiasm to other people, to bring music into their lives too. So, and that was his life, his recording his music.
Thank you very much, Linda.